teacher, and the day after we finished taking an important state exam, one of my students' moms called me to see if her son had passed. I looked at my grades and saw he did. She was so happy when I told her and literally burst into tears of joy. She told me she had a big celebration planned for him because this meant he'd likely get into college. When I got off the phone still smiling, I realized I had read the wrong score. He failed. I instantly felt horrible and had no idea what I was going to tell his mom. I checked and he didn't have the grades to pass the class anymore. I looked over his test and my heart broke when I saw he would have passed if he had got one more question right. I sat there thinking about how to tell her and was about to call her back, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Then I did something I had never done before. This boy came to all of my classes, always smiled, always tried his best. I knew he deserved to pass. Without thinking, I went into the system and changed his grade to passing and left it. I couldn't sleep that night because I knew if anyone ever found out, I could go to jail. But seeing how happy he was when I handed his mark back made it worth it. That was 3 months ago. Marcus Williams had been in my advanced biology class for the entire year, and I'd watched him struggle with concepts that came naturally to other students. He wasn't the brightest kid in the room, but what he lacked in natural ability, he made up for in determination. Every day after school, he'd stay behind to ask questions. Every assignment came back covered in his careful handwriting, with neat diagrams and color-coded notes that showed he'd spent hours preparing. His mom, Patricia, worked double shifts at the hospital as a nurse to keep him in this district. She'd moved here specifically so Marcus could attend Lincoln High, known for its college prep programs. I'd met her during parent-teacher conferences, and she told me with tears in her eyes that Marcus was going to be the first person in their family to go to college. Marcus's father wasn't in the picture, and she'd sacrificed everything to give her son opportunities she never had. The state exam was brutal that year. Even my top students complained about the difficulty. When the scores came back, I wasn't surprised to see several failures. What I hadn't expected was how close Marcus had come. One single question separated him from passing and from having his college dreams destroyed. I kept telling myself what I'd done was justified, but the guilt was eating me alive. Every time I looked at Marcus in class, smiling and participating with renewed confidence, I felt like a fraud. When other teachers complained about students who barely scraped by, I'd stay quiet, knowing I'd manufactured Marcus's success. 2 weeks after changing the grade, Principal Davidson called a faculty meeting. My stomach dropped when he mentioned they were conducting a routine audit of state exam scores. The district had implemented new security measures after reports of grade tampering in neighboring schools. They'd be reviewing test scores against the original scanned answer sheets, looking for any discrepancies. I sat in that meeting trying to keep my face neutral while my heart pounded. Davidson explained they'd be checking every score that had been entered manually into the system. Since most scores were automatically generated, any manual entries would be flagged for review. I remembered clicking through the system, changing Marcus's score from 67 to 72. It would show up as a manual adjustment. That night, I paced my apartment until 3 a.m. I lived alone in a studio downtown, close enough to walk to school but far enough from the suburbs to afford the rent on a teacher's salary. My girlfriend Emma had been asking why I seemed so distracted lately. We'd been dating for 8 months, and she was starting to talk about moving in together. How could I tell her I might be facing criminal charges? I considered my options. I could confess before they found the discrepancy, maybe claim it was an honest mistake, but the system logs would show I'd accessed Marcus's record hours after the scores were released, then immediately changed it. There was no way to spin that as accidental. Or I could stay quiet and hope they wouldn't catch it. Maybe the audit wouldn't be as thorough as Davidson made it sound. Maybe they'd focus on more obvious anomalies. But if they did find it, the consequences would be worse for trying to cover it up. The third option was the one that kept me awake. I could go back into the system and change the score back. Marcus would fail, but I'd be safe. His mom's celebration would turn to devastation. His college applications would be worthless, but I wouldn't lose my career or face criminal charges. I thought about Patricia's face when I
Click here
called
for
her
the
with
whole
good
story.
news. She'd immediately started planning. Marcus had been accepted to State University conditionally.